everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Silicon Dreams on Radio Zindagi 1550 AM. I'm your host, Charlene from Orbis 86. And today we welcome a very special guest, Chris Joannou, who is a seasoned leader with 11 years of experience in startup and venture capital. VP of Ecosystem Growth at Draper University. He drives global business development, fosters partnerships, and mentors startups worldwide while specializing in marketing, innovation, and blockchain. Welcome, Chris. We are glad to have you on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's start with a short introduction from yourself, and tell us a little bit about your journey before Draper U.
Yeah, so for me, pretty much startups all the way along, so completely unemployable, I would say. Design background, got my and then I did a business multimedia degree, so kind of really early education in what the future of the internet was going to look like. I had one corporate job and the rest was my own companies. And then I guess over the last, 10 plus years, it's been predominantly working with startups, from startup grind to startup boot camps, like, Europe's largest accelerator. And then more recently across the Draper ecosystem,
right.
Starting with Draper Startup House, which is a chain of hotels for entrepreneurs. And then Draper University, which is our flagship accelerator, and found a residency there in Silicon Valley. So mostly startups. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And could you tell us a little bit more about Draper University, where you are now at the mission, and how it differentiates itself from, traditional educational institutions?
Yeah, so I think that, the reason Tim Draper, for, your listeners who are not sure who that is, he's a famous kind of billionaire venture capitalist. The family essentially started venture capital. Tim Draper's been very successful in his investments, everything from seed stage, Tesla, Skype, SpaceX, Twitch, you name it, like the biggest companies in the world. He was there at the beginning. And he just kind of I think he just lost faith in traditional education and wanted to set up something that was, uniquely aspiring and kind of tactical and kind of the right skill set for wannabe entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So it is entrepreneurship taught by entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. It has a residency, so we love people to come stay with us. We think we produce a better startup that way. If they're living together, it becomes even more competitive, and it differentiates itself, not only from the fact of that we have some of the best founders in the world, teaching some of the classes. So, the real practitioners, not people that are just, know the theory, but also that they're living together, and also that we push them with experiences.
Yeah.
So we're the only ones that I know that do this thing called Survival Week, where we send the founders to a farm with Navy SEALs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. But what are some other, unconventional methods Draper University uses to train entrepreneurs? How do these methods mirror real world scenarios?
I think that that Survival Week is pretty crazy, right? Like the fact that we are physically testing entrepreneurs, right? But it's more like leadership drills, resilience, all the stuff that you need to be a founder. And I don't see anyone else doing it, and I think that's kind of uniquely us. But it's really just pushing founders out of their comfort zone. So we're doing that as often as possible, right? At a minimum, that's kind of getting people to pitch in front of, getting out of that, familiar with that process. It's a little bit scary and daunting at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So there's, impromptu pitches. We do sometimes comedy improv. We have Survival Week. So it's always about letting founders know that they're capable of a lot more than what they thought they were. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting for sure. Can you share some success stories of the university alumni who have made a significant impact in their industries?
Sure. I mean, we've had everything from Survi Sana, who's now a partner at Y Combinator. She was acquired by Boston Scientific on demo day. We've had Qtum, a leading blockchain that was founded at Draper U. We've had everything from massive YouTube channels, from Yes Theory, to doing tens of millions in annual recurring revenue come through. High Street, big metaverse in the crypto space. Splitgate gaming company that's also a unicorn. So a variety of like unicorns and kind of everything from health tech to, flying car kind of stuff comes our way, and we like to back the moonshots for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, that is great. I love to hear these stories. In fact, I wish we could hear more in depth, but I know we have a time constraint. That being said, speaking of variety, like you just said, with over 3,300 alumni that I've read in about 103 countries, sorry, how does Draper U maintain and leverage its global network to support ongoing entrepreneurship and innovation?
Slack. No, Slack channel. Slack channel. No, I mean, so for the most part, yeah, I mean, we are like, in constant contact with our alumni, which we're
Mm-hmm.
tracking their success, particularly portfolio companies. But we have like alumni events. I was in Paris recently and we got alumni together there. We have those around the world. So it's
Yeah.
either events, newsletter, and then ongoing, like, letting them know about programs that we're having, that they may want to apply to, or they can, utilize their network to try and get people into some of the newer things we're doing, or they're simply just reunions. So we're constantly in contact with alumni around the world for sure.
Awesome. Love that everyone's engaged actually. What strategies have you found most effective though in building and growing startup communities through your role as a VP of ecosystem growth, by the way?
So communities, I mean, so we define ecosystem a little bit different in that it's like our
Mm-hmm.
global partnerships and physical growth. We're going to set up some campuses around the world. We just did a deal to set up the first international Draper U campus in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and we're looking at a few other destinations. But in terms of community, I mean, I came from startup grind, and we're big community builders there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a matter of like having a big mission, having a purpose, ensuring that everyone's knows what that is, and they're kind of aligned with it. So they're we're all going to the same, we're all on the same spaceship going to the same planet, or we're in the same boat going to the same destination. So I think if that's kind of clear, then it makes it easy. And then if you've got this clear path and you've got ways for people to grow and have the support of each other, then you can get there faster. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, definitely, yes. And when you spoke about support, yeah, that's I think a lot of communities, that's really their base and the strength when there is support, not just while you're at the university, but also when once you're out of it and as an alumni. So I think that's great. Can you discuss the importance of partnerships really when I speak about this in the startup ecosystem? Also, maybe provide an example of successful collaborations you facilitated.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my background's community building, sales, and growth hacking. I think the big part of sales is partnerships, right? And even community building, because you're just thinking about what are the right partners for my community. So partnerships are super important to me. I think it's one of the biggest growth levers I can work on. It's a matter of ensuring it's a win for them and a win for us, and then a win for the community, or the end. And I think it's what was the question again? Sorry. What about partnership? Oh, some of the big partnership. And
Yeah,
then
it's really about, what have you found most effective in building and growing startup communities through oh sorry, let me just go back to, sorry, that was the previous one. Can you discuss the importance of partnerships in the startup ecosystem and provide an example of successful collaborations you facilitated?
yeah, so I think it's probably one of the most unutilized, or like, underemphasized means of growth for
Okay.
startups, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody out there that has your network. They already have the group of people that you're trying to attract, or you want to try and sell to, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to figure out who they are and where they're hanging out online. And if you can figure out, how you can collaborate and bring them value,
Yeah.
right, then that can fast track your success, because they might have a million people in their community or whatever else, right? It's going to be a very quick way for you to grow. I
True.
think the key thing is just understanding that, particularly when you're early on, that you
Yeah.
don't have much to offer. So you need to come up with something clever that's going to, kind of get on their radar, bend over backwards to deliver value for them first somehow, and then see if you can build a relationship enough that they're going to trust you, put your product in front of their people. And if they do, then it could be like, 0 to 100 for you.
That's true. Delivering value, definitely. So how do you identify and support, like from your perspective, promising startups in their early stages? What key qualities do you look for in entrepreneurs?
Passion, I think it's passion. It's like, I think Tim Draper uses they're missionaries, not mercenaries. This is kind of their life work. They love this space. They're going to do it with or without you. That you can just kind of see the drive. They've got some sort of resilience. Maybe there's some failure in that same space, but they lost the money or whatever, but they haven't given up. They're still like, I'm going to do this. This is something I need to do to change the world. They're kind of purpose driven. So there's that, right? And I think you kind of feel that energy. Big markets, big visions, something that's going to be like, billion, $100 billion businesses, right? They're thinking super big. They got the means to kind of deliver and execute, and they're going to go at it for 10 years. They can't run out of steam.
Yeah, for sure. Passion, drive, and resilience. Of course, I picked on those three words. I think that really helps. And if the listeners, if you guys are noting this down, the three words, please note down the three words that has caught your attention. For me, it was passion, drive, resilience. Moving on to our next question, blockchain technology is one of your areas of expertise. How do you see its role evolving in the startup ecosystem and broader business landscape?
I'm kind of biased, but I think it's going to be everything. I kind of like, obviously AI is having a big impact at the moment, but I think they'll cross over at some point. We're busy trying to deliver programs and look at investments where blockchain meets AI, and blockchain can solve some of the problems that AI can't. But for me, yeah, I think that the blockchain bit is important because it's not going away, right? And so I think that it comes and goes in waves, but the ability to somehow, build trust in your product, to be able to, port your social graph or your assets wherever you go, to have ownership over that, to be profitable over your data. There's just so many use cases, and we're only in its infancy, right? So I think that's a big wave, and that's why I'm super excited about it. And generally, it helps. Entrepreneurs are more interested when the market's up, but I think this time or last time it was a bear market. A lot of developers didn't drop down tools; they just kept going through it, and that's how
Yeah, that's true. You spoke about Web3 and AI. We love that collaboration. What are some real world applications you think that blockchain and AI could actually be put together and be used effectively? Something that just comes up to your mind right now.
I think that there's this, we identifying the source, and rewarding the source of the data. Like, people know that they're kind of scraping from this side or that side, but there's no attribution to the artist. I mean, hopefully that is where, blockchain can figure out, oh, well, all right, your artwork came from a piece of this person's artwork that came from this woman's artwork that came from that. And then you could just kind of somehow compensate them when you're using even a fraction of an original artwork or an original soundbite. So I think there's some sort of loyalty, there's sort of, some rewards for artists. I think that also comes down to this, definitely use cases for where identity, right? Like deep fakes and all this kind of stuff are going to be, keep getting better. So how do I know I'm actually on the phone with you? Or like, if I'm on the phone to your representative, at least let me know that it's your representative, because I think maybe hopefully it'll get to where somebody's answering my calls and can do it for me. I'm not sure. But I think, identity, and if you're getting that, and then like the source of truth, right? Because at the moment we are training on LLMs that are not quite right. And then as you spit out more and more content, more and more kind of regurgitated art, then you then start to train on it's less right, and it becomes less accurate. So it's going to be more important to be like, hey, I need to get back to the source, back to the original, to the actual journalist, the actual, whatever it is, so that I'm even if I'm reproducing something, the stuff in there is accurate. Yeah, I think that's where AI meets blockchain for sure.
Awesome. And with blockchain and AI being one of the trends that we're looking ahead at, what are some of the other emerging trends and opportunities in the startup and venture capital space that excite you the most?
For us, we're all about kind of deep tech. I mean, I think blockchain used to fit in there. I don't know if it does. I mean, I think it's kind of then like pioneering blockchain now is there, but it's we say deep tech. Adam Draper from Bruce VC would say sci-fi, right? So that's how deep tech we're talking. It's almost like on paper or when they're pitching it, it sounds like science fiction. So the question around what we're looking for, deep tech, big ideas, big missions, something that looks like science fiction, something that's like that crazy. But if they do pull it off, it's worth billions of dollars. And I think, and it changes the world. It has positive impact, and it's their mission. That's what we're looking for. Sorry, I was saying that a lot of SaaS right now, my colleague would argue that has no moat. If you have AI that can now I put in a prompt and it can spit out a clone of whatever is on the market, then software as a service is finished. I can just clone that tomorrow. Obviously, it's to do with the execution and getting the product out there, but I'd be very worried if you have something that I can just type into Chat GPT and spit out some code and have a replica in half a day. So you need to be thinking 10 years ahead, and kind of reverse engineer it. So big ideas, I guess.
Absolutely, yes. And 10 years ahead, we definitely, for the young entrepreneurs listening to the show too, that's something that you need to take down. On that note, we have our last and final question for you, Chris. One advice to young entrepreneurs entering the space or who are already building and, want to know what next?
Yeah, I would say think bigger, even if you think you got a big idea, just keep challenging yourself, particularly at the onset. Is this a global business? Is the market size that I think it is it beyond my region? So if you can just, get these questions into your head, like how do I make it 10x bigger? And you can come up with some crazy stuff that excites you, then go for that, right? And then if you've got people that are around you that are like, that's crazy, and it probably is, doesn't matter. You're just in the wrong space. Because there's definitely some people that believe that you can do what that have that bigger vision. And if you have that bigger vision, you're going to attract the right talent and stuff. People aren't leaving jobs at Google, to work at NASA. They want to work with SpaceX and go to Mars. They're looking for big vision, and that's what draws people together. So you might as well have a crack at going bigger.
Absolutely. I think that's some real good advice. Think bigger, do bigger. And if people tell you you're crazy, you're in the wrong space. That was really good advice. I think we come to an end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing your insights with us today on Silicon Dreams. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you too. And to our wonderful listeners, stay tuned for more inspiring stories and insights into the world of innovation. Until then, see you next time.